Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Double Pivot podcast. We are back after a short break, and I have my good friend and co-host also, Ryan Ahmed, with us today. And
Hi guys.
hello, and we'll also talk about the UCL Champions League first round of fixtures and how it went for the English teams especially, and then we'll come to some other big news in the footballing world about Virgil van Dijk and his injury and how it's going to affect Liverpool and the title race. And then we'll also move on to the next weekend of fixtures in the Premier League, and we'll preview the big fixture, Manchester United versus Chelsea. So Ryan, how are you doing? We're back after a short break.
Doing
Good to have
fine.
you.
A short break was good for everyone, I suppose. Uh,
Yeah,
a lot of footballing action now. It
yeah,
was a good break for us too, kind of.
right. I mean, like I said, I mean, we'll move to the Champions League review for the
Mm-hmm.
first round. I mean, a good week, good first round for English teams. I mean, all the teams, I
English
think,
teams, yeah.
except Chelsea won. I mean, Chelsea played well. Sevilla are a really good team, so they would take the point. So coming to that game, Sevilla Chelsea, your thoughts on that game? I mean, you watched that closely.
Uh, Contrary to popular outcry of the fans, I think that was a very solid result, very good result for Chelsea. Sevilla, I think you could call it a hot take or an unpopular opinion, but it's currently the top three sides overall as an overall unit in Europe. All right, they are an incredible pressing unit.
Yeah,
They press the death out of you, and they are really solid in defense. They've got their centre backs, their defensive midfielders, all they just lock up the attackers completely.
yeah,
And don't forget, this is a team that took Bayern extra time, deep into extra time in the Super Cup, and they
yeah,
had to fight and claw their way to a win. So yeah,
yeah,
I think the 0-0 was a good result, especially after the defensive calamity that Chelsea had on the weekend against Southampton.
yeah,
The return of Edouard Mendy, the goalkeeper, very unexpected to
yeah.
make it back to the squad before this weekend action. And of course, Thiago Silva was suffering from just travel fatigue because he obviously 36 years old, just came back probably a 5,000-6,000 kilometer trip from South America. So yeah, the return of those two into the lineup was very crucial for us.
Yeah.
And yeah, and from the Chelsea's point of view, two performances were really real. Actually, the whole back five, you could say, including Mendy, was a really solid display, especially the fullbacks. I mean, the fullbacks, they
Yeah.
were out of this world, especially Reece James. Reece James locked up Marcus Acuna, a decent left back, as well as Lucas Ocampos.
Lucas
Barely
Ocampos.
had any great moments in the match. Just
Yeah.
got a one shot that too was just because of a miscued clearance fell to his feet, and of course Reece James really good, and Ben Chilwell. Although I was a bit skeptical of his signing, thought we probably overpaid, but he's showing that he's worth every penny of that 50 million, both in an attacking point of view and although we didn't see his defensive qualities in his first three appearances, but yesterday he was really good defensively, covering for the midfielders. And yeah, so from a defensive point of view, I was very happy. And the attack, well, I could say it is going to take some time to gel, obviously.
I
And
mean, that's what I was coming to. Like, I mean, they look solid defensively, but did that take away a bit of the attack? Because I mean, I was watching the game. I think until the 75th minute, and then I mean, playing
Mhm.
with two defensive midfielders in Conte and Kovacic, I just felt sometimes you lose one more body in the front. What do you think of that? The attack in general,
You know,
because
actually, Chelsea, because of the defensive issues of last season, conceding 63 goals last 43 Premier League games, I
yeah,
think it's sensible to play those two holding midfielders because
yeah,
there's enough quality in that front four to produce goals. And those that midfield pivot, those two holding midfielders you're talking about, stay back, then that allows the fullbacks to attack. So,
yeah.
and the fullbacks have more than enough quality to play like uh, wingers,
Robertson
you
and
know,
Trent.
almost wingers, almost Liverpool like I could say. I don't
Yeah,
want to take anything away from them, but still.
yeah, yeah,
Um, like you said, till the 75th minute, actually nothing happened after that. You know, it was just the
yeah,
same passage of play. But yeah, I think the attack, because the attack mainly has been misfiring because of the lack of cohesion. Because
yeah,
very short season, they don't know each other that well, and
yeah,
also doesn't help when the players are played out of their position. You know, for example, Pulisic, he has developed as a right winger at Dortmund, He's at his most lethal when he's on the left wing. His
Yep.
biggest goal is when he's on the left side.
Yeah.
And Mason Mount, I love the player when he's playing in central midfield. I don't like him being shepherded onto the wings just because of his work rate.
Yeah, even I don't understand that, but yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have that quality on the ball to dribble and take players from that wing as a winger. And I'd say Kai Havertz and Timo Werner, they
look the
did
most
what
threatening, yeah.
they,
Yeah, I mean,
they're just settling in,
yeah.
I don't think we'll see the best version of this team for another 1 month, I suppose.
Yeah.
But fans have to be patient to see that. And
Right.
credit to Sevilla, Sevilla, incredible. This guy, what's his name? The defensive midfielder, Nemanja Gudle.
Yeah.
That him and Rakitic were man of the match for me. Those two guys. That is no disrespect to Jorginho or Kante, but Gudle, the type of performance I want from my holding midfielder is the one Nemanja Gudle put in that match. So yeah, that's my basic overview of the match.
I mean, hard to disagree there. Good win versus a very strong Sevilla side who were Europa League champions also.
A draw, not a win.
I mean, good draw. Yeah, sorry. I mean, and then
and keeping a clean sheet.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll move to Liverpool versus Ajax. I mean,
Ajax,
on the second day, I was following that game closely. I mean, it wasn't exciting game, but I mean, a good win for Liverpool, especially after Van Dijk was out. I mean, and an away win. I mean, they haven't really performed well in away games in the Champions League in the last few years, but a good grinding result. And I mean, yeah, they'll take that. I mean, Ajax were good. But it wasn't like I said, an open game. So what do you think about that game?
And I watched the game too in bits and pieces. Yeah, I kind of had my main focus on that match, just switching up. But the Ajax game against Liverpool, I'd say it seemed like Liverpool was still hungover after the Merseyside derby, and
they looked tired.
They looked tired and a little. Sometimes their concentration looked out. I know the Liverpool fans have some kind of vendetta against Adrian, poor guy. But I believe he was quite solid. Made some crucial saves and catches and claimed a few crosses, relieved some pressure. But he also
he also had moments where
he also had moments of. He's doing.
I mean, and those moments easily could have led to goals. So that's the issue with sometimes, and personally me also.
I agree.
Yeah.
I still don't think you should force to play out of the back when he's playing. You should probably go for a longer route. Your front three has enough quality to take the ball from there and attack.
Yeah, I mean, and Fabinho played really well.
For me, exactly.
Man of the match for me also.
Man of the match for me, Fabinho.
Yeah.
And you see, this might sound controversial again, but even when Van Dijk is back, I think Fabinho should be the partner in defense for him, and you should look for a new defensive midfielder. I really think.
I mean, I think personally,
I've watched him play 3 times.
Yeah, I know.
I've
even
watched
in the Chelsea game, he played really well.
And he has been man of the match in all those 3 games.
But I mean, something still says that he should, for me at least, he should be in midfield.
Until Van Dijk is back, he should not be moved from the
I think until Van Dijk is back. Yeah. I mean, so that was a good performance for Liverpool, and the other performance for English teams. I mean, Man City easy winners versus Porto. I mean, good win for them. Aguero's back, so they're slowly getting
2 goals. I was actually quite impressed with Porto. The way they defended. But those 2 goals were pretty unlucky. I'd say a very dodgy free kick that Gundogan scored should never have been a free kick. The cleanest tackle a player can make, and the penalty, well, VAR is VAR. You can't debate it. It was a 50-50. In my opinion, I think Sterling. It was Sterling, right?
Yeah.
He went down too softly. And whenever you face Pepe, you prefer going down rather than coming up against him. Even if he's 37 now.
Right. And then the other game, Oli did his thing again in Paris. I mean, Rashford.
Ole in Paris should be a movie, part 1 and part 2. It's always a spectacle in those matches.
Yeah. I mean, PSG didn't do much. I mean, from what I heard, even in the end, they weren't constructive. I mean, even the midfield looked all of players who were lacking creativity. Ander Herrera and who else was playing? I mean, 2 other midfielders. I think Danilo Pereira. Danilo Pereira. So, I mean, Neymar and Mbappe.
Actually, I'm sorry to interrupt you over there, but PSG as if you look at individuals in that team, except the front three, they're a
Yeah.
pretty average side.
Average thing of honestly for me also. Yeah.
Average, but not world class from
I know.
midfield to defense.
Yeah.
And also to Thomas Tuchel, he's not a manager that will get them the Champions League.
I know,
In
definitely.
Champions League, you need to have 2-3 different game plans against teams. You see someone like Allegri, and who has been linked with the PSG job. That guy can play attacking. See, Tuchel he will never compromise his ideals. He'll never go for the pragmatic approach, even though games demand.
And one unpopular opinion I have is I think Mbappe after the World Cup he hasn't been the same. I mean after the World Cup I'm
He
trying
hasn't
to
took
remember
off.
performances. Okay, where in the Champions League, where it's like, oh my God, okay, this is Mbappe. So I mean, I think probably his last season in PSG, so he needs to start. I mean, probably move and
Most
then
likely he's off to Madrid.
get off to another manager and a good team.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was one observation. But good win for Man United. Good to start tough group. So it's good win for them.
And I would like to ask you a question. Any other dark horses, any teams that you think we should keep an eye out on in the Champions League, and very exciting talents that you think you should keep an eye out on the Champions League? In your opinion, what are they? Unknown talents, they don't play for the big teams, as you could say.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't honestly watched a lot of football for the other teams. I mean, usually just watch the big teams right now.
But still, in the media, doing the rounds, certain names pop up.
I mean, I don't know if these are big teams, but I mean, I'm intrigued by Dortmund's players always. I mean, and what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how Haaland,
I expected actually
Vienna and Sancho are playing. Yeah, I mean, even I expected, and I mean, but they're almost becoming like Ajax now, where every year they buy players, develop players, and then eventually they have to sell off, and then again there's the same process of rebuilding, and then new players, new coach. So I mean, I don't really see them challenging Bayern until they keep their best players. But dark horses, I mean, right now early days, but I think Bayern obviously look favorite. I mean, at the start of
they're
the
not dark
campaign,
they are the favorites.
yeah, I mean, at the start of the campaign, I had Bayern and Liverpool as favorites, but now with Van Dijk out, I think Bayern are favorites. And then, I mean, Champions League is such that once you get into January, you never know with signings and stuff, and February how the form is. So it's difficult to predict. But dark horses, I mean, Atletico, maybe they didn't play well, but
Atletico, one of the best defensive powerhouses in Europe, were taken apart by Bayern Munich.
Right.
The scoreline doesn't lie. They literally taken apart by Bayern Munich, and they posed no attacking threat throughout the match. Literally 0-9.
I mean, this Champions League is really open. I have a sneaky feeling that Juventus and Pirlo will do well. Let's see, but yeah, it's very open Champions League after a long time. Bayern slight favorites.
Barcelona, even though they won 5-1, their performance wasn't a 5-1 performance in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Barca, I'm intrigued to see Barca, especially in the Clásico, and then in the later stages of Champions League, can they handle the pressure and do they have the intensity? Because a lot of old players.
Yep.
And then,
shock result of the week.
Almost forgotten, Real Madrid lost, Zidane slightly under pressure, apparently.
Yeah, apparently Florentino Perez went into the dressing room and gave a talking down to Zidane, apparently. It was a very short conversation.
Yeah, I mean, there's one or two rumors. Pochettino to Real Madrid, I'm not sure. But yeah, I just saw that.
I don't know. I don't think after all the investment last year, they'll let the man go out. And very, very disappointed of Eden Hazard and his sudden plummet in his career. Very unlucky.
I think they're going to go for Mbappe next year, so I think they'll keep.
Yeah, exactly. I think Mbappe is the worst kept secret for next summer.
Although I think Julian Lawrence, I think he also said that Liverpool might, if they have the money, very unlikely. I can't see Liverpool spending 200 million. He's a fan of Liverpool apparently also. So yeah, I think that's what he said after Real Madrid.
If it's between Madrid or Liverpool, with all due respect to Liverpool, I think Mbappe will choose Madrid 100 times out of 100.
Yeah.
And especially, I was talking about these young talents from the Champions League. Camavinga, one to keep an eye on. He's in Chelsea's group. Chelsea playing 2 or 3 weeks from now, I think. That's going to be a very interesting matchup. I'm very intrigued to see Camavinga come up against European opposition. First season in Europe. So that one play I'm keeping my eye out for.
Right. And then that's for the Champions League. We'll move to the Premier League now. And again, another weekend of nice games. Before we preview the games, I just wanted to ask you big story from last week. Virgil van Dijk out for almost the season, I think now.
Yeah,
I mean, that blows the title race wide open. How do you see impacting Liverpool and your thoughts on the title race now?
I mean, Virgil van Dijk, no, with all due respect, again, was the Liverpool defense for me.
Yeah.
Him and Allison, the way they transformed the team is everyone can see how they transformed, and I think probably the news every Liverpool fan was fearing came true, that he's out for the season and probably out for the Euros as well.
Yeah.
That
I mean, it'll be difficult for him. Yeah.
Holland fans. Yeah, he won't.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll be able to make it in time for the Euros. But if he does that, it's a miracle. Title races now. Actually, I'm actually speechless now. I can't say anything. I have no words.
I mean, it's good for the title race because the last few title races have been very.
Like after 5 games, you knew who was going to win the league. Probably not in 2019. 18-19 was more open.
Yeah.
You could say 2 teams at it, but this season I can literally, you can't predict who's going to win. I know there are good 3, 4, 5 teams who have a good chance. It's basically who's going to defend best, because everyone is conceding goals. Scoring a lot. It basically comes down to who's going to defend the best. And in my opinion, this may sound unpopular, but if in the next 5 or 6 games Frank Lampard finds a good midfield pairing and a solid defense without any injuries, I think with some consistent form from that front foot, they could go all the way.
That's a big claim. I mean, I'll be very, very, very surprised if Chelsea.
Actually, yesterday after the Van Dijk injury, that I'm not celebrating the injury in any way or in any shape or form. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but a glimmer of hope came into my life.
I think my prediction is I think Liverpool will still win, but it depends on how they do till January. I'm sure they're going to sign a centre back in January. So I think they have
and also, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. Manchester City again gaining momentum.
City gaining momentum. Yeah. So I mean, again,
just need to prevent injuries.
Yeah, I think City will be there definitely. I think Liverpool, if they are in touching distance till January, because I know they're going to sign a centre back, and after that they might push also. But it all depends on how they're till January. And then Spurs also maybe. And then, like you said, Chelsea. Difficult to see United and Arsenal challenging for the league. Everton, you don't know. You never know. So, yeah, title race is wide open. Aston Villa, no.
Flash in the pan, do you think?
Surely not.
Ross the Boss Barkley, PFA Player of the Season.
Jack Grealish
and Ross Barkley.
Oh, my God. That'll be surprising.
That will be like better than Leicester.
Yeah, they'll eclipse Leicester. And then we'll move on to the games. Big game, obviously. Will
before we move on to the game, I'm sorry. I'd just like to ask you a question. Who do you think Liverpool can realistically target for centre back in January?
I honestly don't know. I mean, they're putting out Upamecano of Leipzig. I don't know if he'll come out. Liverpool will
I think Diego Carlos will be really good for you.
Who is that? I honestly haven't heard of him.
Yeah, he's a very consistent. I love that team now. I'm sorry.
I mean, Michael Edwards and the transfer committee, obviously, they'll be obviously trying to find out targets from now on. I don't know. They're saying Ben White. I'm not sure of Ben White because he's not really good in the air. Yeah. I mean, we need someone who's dominant because Joe Gomez is not dominant. We need someone who's like Van Dijk who's dominant in the air, especially, and who can attack balls and stuff, and that leader. So Upamecano is good, and then other names. I mean, Ozan Kabak, I think from Schalke, he's been linked before.
Really young, I'm not sure. He's just 20.
Yeah, he's really young, so I don't think that's an option. But I think Klopp I personally think he'll look for somebody who's like at their peak, and then who can come in and slot there. I think eventually, yeah, probably. I'm not sure. I don't think he'll spend that kind of money, but eventually, I think the new signing will be partnering Van Dijk and Gomez, and Matip with his injury issues slowly, I think, will drift away after next season.
Should be phased out of that and just discard him probably at the end.
I think that's what they'll do, and then bring a fourth choice other youngster in the team, and Gomez and the new signing and Van Dijk might play. That's what I think will happen. Fabinho is also there to cover. So I mean, I'm still not sure about.
In my opinion, he should sign a defensive midfielder and keep Fabinho as centre back. For me, because all his games at centre back, he's been man.
I don't think Fabinho wants to play centre back for regularly. He likes to play midfield.
He played right back also. He was a right back when he started.
Yeah, But I think he as a midfielder also he's really underrated. Last year till December when he was out injured, he was our best player. Honestly, the way I mean, even when Van Dijk was there, at times we were open. But when Fabinho comes, he intercepts danger, and then he even has like his passing is underrated. If you see some of the balls he plays to Mane and Salah, those chipped
Those
balls,
chipped balls over the
yeah,
on the right hand side or the left hand side.
yeah, that's
Very
those are really underrated. So I mean Fabinho. And then, like I said, we'll go to the games. We'll come to United Chelsea, the big one, lastly. But before that, any other surprising results you expect? I mean, Burnley and Spurs, and then Liverpool, Sheffield. I mean, comfortable
Burnley,
should look
you know,
comfortable. Yeah,
to be honest, this
you
Premier
never know
League
with
season,
Burnley. Yeah,
you never know now because
Burnley away is usually a tough game. Yeah,
Burnley away is a tough game, but Burnley have been struggling with injury issues, and also they've just signed I think one player, Dale
yeah,
Stephens, probably the most earliest signing you will say,
yeah.
and Burnley, I don't know, Burnley could potentially give Spurs a good scare, but I think Spurs should do it, and Kane's scoring record against Burnley is unbelievable.
Right.
He scored so many goals against Burnley.
Right. And then Liverpool, Sheffield, I feel should be comfortable. I mean, I
Yeah,
can't see
Liverpool Sheffield
Sheffield
is going to be
threatening.
really,
Yeah.
really straightforward
Anfield.
in my opinion.
Yeah. And then
I would love to see our Chelsea Dhoni Ethan Ampadu play against. It's going to be really if he
good
gets
to
because
see how you.
one of their centre back is injured, so I think he should get a look into the team. Hopefully, I want to see that.
And then Arsenal versus Leicester, another good game. I mean, Leicester haven't been
That's going to be a real fun game.
Suffering with injuries. I expect Arsenal to still come out on top, but interesting. Yeah, it'll be an interesting game.
Is Vardy fit for that?
I'm not sure. I mean, Vardy is still, 50-50, I think.
If Vardy's fit, it's a totally different game for Arsenal.
Yeah, yeah.
No, because Vardy is Leicester for me. Not Madison, not maybe NDD for me too. But Vardy is Leicester for me.
Yeah.
And those runs in behind, he's very underrated.
Definitely.
When it comes to play.
Scoring
it's not
also,
just long ball and running it back. He holds the ball up well. His link-up play is really good. One touch, two touch goal you could have seen. Although it was ruled out against West Ham, but it was a really good goal this. And Vardy was at the center of that. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting match if Vardy plays. And Thomas Partey in line for his proper
debut. Yeah, he's playing today for Arsenal in the Europa League.
He's playing today too, yeah. But it's Europa League.
And the big one then, United versus Chelsea. I mean, used to be the big one. Now it's like
two puppies fighting. Earlier it used to be two bulldogs.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, two puppies who want to go growing up, who want to do well.
But Ole is no puppy. Ole is a old mastiff.
Yeah. So how do you see that game
for 12 years?
Game going. I mean, United did well versus Chelsea last year, so it'll be a good game.
They did well. They had those three. I think in most of the matches. No discredit to Manchester United, but there was a lot of luck involved for Manchester United.
Yeah, I remember.
Chelsea was clueless.
Yeah.
I'd give it to them. They didn't know what they were doing. Their limbs weren't coordinating with their minds. There's something was going on in that match. There's no press, nothing. But I think it's going to be a tough game. If the front four of Chelsea isolate Maguire, then we win the game.
Yeah.
But in that PSG game, in highlights, I've seen he's going with that back three formation. Ole.
Tuanzebe is playing. He looked good. Yeah.
That formation is looking good, But Martial is suspended. So let's see if Cavani is in line. Or we could see Greenwood and Rashford start up. I think that if they play that three at the back, I think Man United are favourites. But if they go to that 4-2-3-1, I think Chelsea have a better chance because and also you can see Pogba is coming back into form now. Yeah. But it could be a really interesting match if they both play. Yeah.
That's what I was saying. It's going to be an interesting game. Like both teams, have good players. Rashford in form, and then Pogba is playing. Bruno Fernandes is there. Cavani might start, and then Chelsea obviously have Havertz, Werner, Ziyech might play. Pulisic is there.
I'm actually kind of confident, even though we drew, because if Mendy, Silva, players play, I think we have a good chance of beating. And it's going to, if we win this game, it's going to relieve a lot of pressure of Lampard.
Yeah, for both teams, I think it's like a good chance. If they win,
I think,
push. Yeah.
Oh no, Ole, some pressure has subsided off of him because of those two wins against PSG. PSG was a big win, right? So I think Lampard is more under pressure than Ole at the moment.
Yeah, but if either loses, there'll be a little more pressure because it's like
You
you want to
start
be
you
judged on
you
the big
start
teams now. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the
You start the forwards in their preferred positions, they'll do well. You play Werner left wing, he won't do well, all right? Or you
yeah,
could say he's not an out and out left winger. He can't take on players, and that's not. You could probably escape as left wing in the Bundesliga playing the way Werner does, but not in the Premier League. You have to know how to take on players.
yeah. I
And
mean,
if
yeah. In terms of lineups, how do you see, and then like tactics, where do you see each team hurting, like or targeting? Because Fred might play for United, and then Pogba and Fernandes, and then for
Yeah,
Chelsea, will it be
it
Conte and Jorginho again, or
I
Kovacic?
I think Chelsea should attack down Manchester United's left.
The Shaws, yeah,
Shaw and Telles, if they play a back five, Shaw
yeah,
and Telles are there for the taking. I'm telling you,
yeah,
Shaw and Telles can be easily bothered.
yeah,
And we've got Hakim Ziyech, Reece James. Reece James, one-on-one battle with Telles. I think Reece James is the winner. I really like Telles, but Reece James has really improved defensively this season. He's, Lucas Ocampos. Again, I go back to that match. He has been in incredible form since the start of last season, and he didn't give him a sight of goal.
yeah,
That's a big.
right. And
Yeah,
then,
so I attacking
yeah,
down Manchester United's left is going to reap Chelsea their rewards.
all right, it'll be interesting game. We all will be watching closely. And just finally, before we wrap up, prediction for the game. I mean, and how on the spot? I'm
You know,
putting you on the spot.
I say it again. I
Very,
sound
very
like a
tough
broken
game.
record. No, I can't predict any Premier League game.
No, but
After that Spurs draw, I don't think I can predict any game.
I
Seriously, I'm
mean,
not even.
I think I'm going to go for like a 2-2 game. I mean, I'm not sure, but I'm very, very,
I-
very interested to see who comes out on top on this game.
I'm going to be biased. I'm going to say 3-1 Chelsea.
3-1 Chelsea. Okay, big claim, and then pressure on Man United then if that happens.
If Chelsea lose, then please delete this off YouTube or never post this.
Right. Thank you, Ryan, and
Thank you. Pleasure's all mine. Pleasure's all
that
mine.
should be all, guys, for this podcast. It was nice to be back after a long time, and
Mhm.
please do watch our podcast, share your thoughts, like, share, and also comment on our videos. And yeah, we'll be back soon again with the review of the weekend, and see you guys soon. Thank you.
Thanks.